Hi, I'm Sharon Vaughn, and you're listening to MCO Woe, a podcast giving you a look inside the hearts of the women in our communities, encouraging you to quit comparing and start connecting. This episode takes you into the deep soul of a beloved local artist. She is as brave as she is humble and shares everything from revelations in parenting to the challenges of owning and sharing a craft so desperately coveted by others. Behind every beautiful piece of art, there is a mother, a woman, a human being wanting to be understood and accepted, and this is her story. Hi, everybody. We are here today with my guest, Allison Wickey, and she has been so generous with her time. I know she's a busy artist down on 30A with her gallery and studio and kids and all kinds of community involvement. So super thankful to her for joining us today on the MCOO podcast. Hi, Allison.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you so much. I would love it if you could just start by sharing with the listeners of this podcast a little bit about yourself.
I am a transplant here 13 years ago exactly in early 2007. When I came here, I had a 4.5-year-old son and was pregnant with my daughter. I'm a mom of a 12-year-old girl, a 16-year-old boy, divorced for about 10 years. I'm really involved in the Cultural Arts Alliance of Walton County, have been on their board for 6 years and serving as president for the past 2 or 3 years. So I'm just really involved in the art community here.
That's fantastic and really great because a lot of people think we're this sleepy little beach area where we don't have as much culture and maybe things in that diverse nature for people to expose themselves to. They come here to swim and eat and, have a good time. But the arts community, the things that the Cultural Arts Alliance that I've seen, produce in education and just theater and things of that nature, really, really cool. I mean, I never would have guessed as a visitor that even existed here.
Yeah, it's what's going on behind the scenes and, with everything, but with the Cultural Arts Alliance, we produce Songwriters Festival, the Underwater Museum of Art, Arts Quest, all kinds of different events here that, people aren't fully aware that we do. So it's our mission right now is marketing and letting people know what we do with the hashtag Art Matters. We're just trying to reach out and let everyone know that everything you do and touch and see every day is because an artist made it happen.
Art matters. And so many different things I think can be considered art. What is art to you?
Anything that evokes an emotion, anything you look at it from the way, standing out on Grayton Beach, the way that the lake has a different curve as it reaches the Gulf every day, it's different to, walking into Target and seeing a beautiful print, it's anything that just makes you feel something, brings up a memory, just anything that evokes emotion.
Yeah. What's your earliest memory of some sort of art bringing you an emotion?
When I think about my childhood in art, I wasn't a big painter. I did dabble a little bit, but what I remember from everywhere I lived is the light that came in, the light in our living room or in my bedroom as a little kid, everywhere I went, I just remember standing and looking at the light. I don't remember what the furniture looks like or anything like that, but I just remember being like, this is so beautiful. And certain stores I would go at, just stuff like that. I just remember the light from everywhere.
What a great thing to kind of grab onto.
Mm-hmm.
So you talked about every place that you lived. Did you move around a lot as a child?
Different houses. I stayed in the
Okay.
same town, Belleville, Illinois, from until I was 18. So when I was 18, I left and went to the University of Missouri for a couple years. It was a really big school, not my cup of tea. I went to South Florida to live with a friend and attended Florida Atlantic University. And in both of those places at Mizzou, that was my first art class I ever took. And I was like,
Really?
ooh, yeah. And my professor there, kind of took me aside and was like, you need to do something with this. And that kind of same thing kind of happened throughout my college career. And every time I kind of rolled my eyes and was like, yeah, I have no interest in being a starving artist. But what was cool is that I could see that I did have talent because I was able to compare myself to other students. And I was like, oh, I guess I do have something that I didn't know. I always kept it to myself. In high school, I was constantly doodling and drawing pictures and, just passing the time in class that way. And finally, after I lived in Boca, I went to Florida Atlantic, I moved to Chicago and attended Columbia College, Chicago. And that's where I really concentrated on taking a lot of art classes and just really developed and had a lot of practice there and had a great professor who, again, took me aside and was like, people want the talent that you have and you just don't care. And I was like, well, I mean, I don't know what to do with it. Like, I'm from Belleville, Illinois. People don't grow up to be artists. Just the only art I knew of at that time was the convention center downtown St. Louis would have like a big like hotel art sale, and it was called the Starving Artist Sale or something like that. So I was like, I'm not going downtown. I'm not going to sell my art at the convention center.
That wasn't exactly
So,
like something that drew you in, the
not
Starving
the
Artist
dream.
Convention. And
Not
hotel
the
art
dream.
is always just so,
Yeah. I was like, not for me.
Yeah.
So, but when I lived in Chicago, I worked too. And I worked and got a little taste of what corporate life was like as I kind of rose up and had different jobs in that corporation, and just found it to be not for me. And I didn't understand the competition and how, kind of mean people could be to try, and it just wasn't for me. I don't have that
Cutthroat.
gene. Yeah. So I had an opportunity to come back to my hometown because my parents were moving, and they were moving out of a house that had been in our family for 5 generations
Oh,
that I always
wow.
loved. So I was like, I'll move home and take over that house, and ended up taking down all the wallpaper, taking out all the carpets, and in that process, I taught myself how to do faux finish on the walls there.
Oh.
And I, out of desperation to kind of make money, because I didn't want to go work corporate, I took some temp jobs and then taught myself how to do faux finish and murals, and started a business and had that in St. Louis for about 8 years, from 2000 to 2007, and just learned a ton. It was fun.
Wow. So out of necessity of kind of doing this, but you realize that not everybody can teach themselves how to do that stuff, because you all obviously had this talent.
I mean, I guess I don't know. I always think everyone can do it. It's just the difference between me and everyone else is that I actually did it.
You actually did it. Yes. And I agree with you. I think anybody can teach themselves how to do something. The quality of the end result may be different for some of us. I'm just saying, I can barely draw a heart, and I've practiced for 42 years, or at least 41.
Yeah.
So interesting. So then you did this whole mural thing. What's the coolest mural you ever did?
Oh,
in your opinion?
I can't really, it was back when everyone wanted their house to look like a French villa, sort of.
Yeah.
There was a lot of Mediterranean and
Countryside,
bougainvillea.
yeah.
So those were my favorite. I loved doing the big scenes like that. So I did a few, and so I got to go in these great houses, and it was fun. I really loved doing faux finish the most, though, because that was just kind of a free flowing, fun, different every time outcome, and it's really kind of cathartic.
So what ages were you, like when you moved back to your parents' home and were doing all this and started this business? How old were you?
I was 26 when I moved back to Belleville in 2000. And then in 2002, I met my husband, and, had a baby in 2003, and still kept the business going. I would take my son with me to work, and he was just a great baby. So I could do that.
Helpful.
Yeah. And also had my mom and my ex-husband's mom, parents nearby. So we had a lot of
really
support in that way, and just had a good time. And still just kept teaching myself. I would basically go bid a job, and people would be like, can you do this? And I'd be like, absolutely. And then I'd go like straight to the store and buy a book and figure out how to do it.
Wow.
Because I didn't know how to, a lot of things I was like, I know I can figure it out. If the people who wrote this book can figure it out, I can figure it out. So that just comes from resourcefulness and,
Yeah.
not growing up having my parents do everything for me. And, my parents worked, so
Mhm.
we were left alone during the day a lot, and we figured things out by ourselves instead of having it handed to us. So, that I'm thankful to have that, been able to learn how to solve problems myself. And, I worry about kids today in that situation
Yeah.
where it's, considered, a luxury. My kids don't have to lift a finger, and I'm like,
Mhm.
that's not going to look good in 20 years.
I know. I can relate
Have
to
them
that
lift their
too.
fingers.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I started to realize that when my son, because my son's 17, he'll be 18 next month or in March. And I started realizing as he became a teenager, I'm like, well, maybe all this stuff that I did to try to be this nurturing mommy
oh
really is
yeah.
backfiring on me. So I'm
Hmm.
like trying to pick up the ball and run with it when he's like 14 years old. It's so hard to do it
Oh yeah.
later.
And it's kind of, my ex-husband was raised the same way. He had a working mom, working parents. He had a job when he was young. He had to do work. And so
Hmm.
it almost feels like we've had to make up this kind of hardship for our kids in order
Yeah.
to give them the experience that we had. Like,
Hmm.
there were times I'd be like, you guys stay home by yourselves for an hour, starting that
Right.
out in small doses where, other people would frown upon that. But
Hmm.
I would make that situation up so that they would have that experience and
Just
learn
to
how to
give
take care of
them.
themselves. Yeah. So it's, we've kind of give them doses of that because we both work from home. We both are all over the kids all the time. I mean, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, we work just a couple minutes from anywhere that they are. So they've never had to, walk home from school or
Yeah, that
anything like
right,
that.
right. It's like they weren't latchkey kids. It's like they didn't
No.
really, like you said, they didn't have to figure a lot out on their own. They always knew that if they
Yeah.
got into a bind that they could get to someone,
Yeah.
phone a friend or whatever.
Yeah.
So, how old are they now? You said 12 and 16?
Um, mhm. Yep.
Okay. All right. So you got two basically a prenager and a teenager.
Yep. Yep.
How is that? How is having a 12-year-old girl?
Um,
Is she
they
good?
yeah, I mean, they are great kids. Like, we don't know how they're so great. We obviously worked hard at it, but it's just like
Yeah.
they're just better people than, you know. It's good. It's, luckily I have that to call upon, remember all that drama and all that
Yes.
friend issues and all the manipulation and the
So
mean girl
hard.
stuff. And so, I just tell her, and her brother even told her 6th and 7th grade are the hardest times you're going to have. So you
Mm,
just got to get through it. And, and I always say, I know it feels like it's never going to end, but it is going to. These girls are going to find their little way and get out
yeah.
of your way. And you just cannot fall under it, because it's mean. They're mean.
It's really horrible. I mean, I don't understand it. I know that I thought middle school was hard when I was in middle school, but when you
Yeah.
hear, I mean, obviously technology, social media plays such a huge role in it where it
Yeah.
can be such a good thing, like what we're trying to do here, right? And spread all this positivity, but for some reason, 30 years ago, I guess at that age, maybe we weren't thinking that
Yeah.
way. We're in survival mode and it's this weird like kill or be killed kind of a thing with little girls
Yeah.
these days. So how, do you allow your daughter to be on social media?
I do, and I wanted to kind of, it's always been kind of a thing where go ahead and do what you're going to do, and then when the issues come up, we're going to tackle them. I'm not going to ban you from social media
Yeah.
because that's not life.
No.
You're not going to grow up to be 25 and not have social media. You're going to do it.
Mhm.
So learn to do it correctly now. And she even monitors herself. Like, she took herself off of TikTok
That's
and
great.
some other, stuff like that because she realized it got too much. And, I was thinking, I'm like, God, I can't believe, remember, imagine being 12 and always, trying to be cute 24
Right.
hours a day and putting it out there. And you have this social pressure to do it. And with all the makeup and the
Mhm.
dancing and all of it. And then, it used to only be that you got the judgment during those 8 hours at school, where you had to deal with it. Now it's 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
So I kind of, that's a rock that's already rolling. Like, you can't just stop that. You just kind of
Yeah.
have to manage it as it goes.
Yeah. So has she had any issues that you've had to kind of help her through? Like has someone been mean to her and you've kind of had to talk her off the ledge per se?
Yeah, there has been some issue, a little bit of bullying at school,
Yeah.
just mean,
Petty stuff.
inappropriate stuff like that. It's not a lot. It's centrally just a couple kids.
Yeah.
Um, but someone did post something about, kind of underhanded about her possibly, and she's like, "Look what this person did, and this
Yeah.
person was a friend," and it's just, and I was
So
like,
hurtful.
I was like, basically just kind of talked her through it, and I said, "Don't take an insult from someone you wouldn't take advice from,
Oh,
or
good advice. Yeah.
have these girls been mean to you before? Like, don't eat the poison cookie. I know it's easy to go back and be friends with them,
Mhm.
but you get hurt every single time. So just know that you're going to go hang out with them. Know that they're going to
Mhm.
turn around and bite you like a snake at any
Yeah.
moment." So, but she's a great leader, and she's got a strong, big heart, strong head. And, it's just hard to grow up, I think, being a little bit more mature
Yeah.
than all the other kids. And both of my kids have that issue where they're just not at the kind of same level as some of the other kids in maturity, because of probably the way that we've kind of, not coddled them.
Right. You treat them at the level that they are
Yeah.
acting, not at the level that you think their age dictates.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I feel like most of the best kids that I know, including my own, it's kind of like that. We never did
Hmm.
baby talk. He's always been intelligent, mature. His teachers
Hmm.
have always said, I enjoy having conversations with him
Yeah.
because, he can have an adult conversation. He gets things that other kids don't get.
Yeah.
But that can be hard for kids too. Like you said, other kids are intimidated by that, or they don't understand it, or they're non-conforming to this whole other image that kids are kind of putting out there. So you
Yeah.
know they attack
Yeah.
things that are different. So well, I love that advice that don't take an insult from somebody you wouldn't take advice from. I'm definitely putting that on a sticky note because it's
I
hard.
read it
Even
somewhere, but
yeah,
so it's not mine originally,
that's
but
okay, but it's great.
it's
And it's
true.
great to pass those nuggets on, the things that work for you. And it's a
Yeah.
good nugget that anybody can really remember. We don't think about it, I think, even as adults, we get
Yeah.
insulted by things, sometimes indirectly, sometimes by someone. I hear somebody say something about what a mom is doing in a
Oh,
judgmental
yeah.
way. And it's something that I do also. And I'm like, oh, am I a bad mom? Do you think like that
Yeah.
about me too? And I start feeling really hurt. But then I realize, well, if I wouldn't take advice from that person, then why
Yeah.
should I care
Why
what
do
they
I
think
care what they
about?
say? Yeah.
Yeah. Have you run into that? And I ask this on a couple of levels because first of all, you're a mom, you're a woman. And second of all, you're an artist. So your work is so subjective. I mean, people probably have opinions about that all the time.
That's the one funny thing that I think about, because I'm going through a big, issue with work right now, and just um, I've really come back to look, and you know, when people do kind of like you, or you are kind of known in the community, people don't tell you when they don't like your work. You know what I mean? You know what
Hmm.
I mean?
I
So
do know what you mean. Yeah.
I'm like,
They don't want to say the wrong thing because you're respected and you're liked, and
yeah,
they don't want to be that person that says, "Oh, that's not my favorite," you know?
yeah. But it does come out when I'll post something and people will be like, "Ooh, I like that one," and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god!" So I've posted 20 things, and everyone's like
Hmm.
rolling their eyes, like, "Oh, she's painting the trees again." So it is hard, but that's just the nature of the beast. I've been
Yeah.
lucky to be able to hit, and be able to sell coastal works, and that's just the thing that people maybe don't understand. That's my bread and butter. So I
Yeah.
have to keep painting the trees. I love to paint the trees. I love to paint our coastal landscapes and stuff. And I know you want to see something different from me, and I want to see something different from me, but it just doesn't happen like that all the time. So, but I do appreciate the compliments and all that. But if people are talking negatively about my work, I don't know about it,
Yeah.
and I just kind of make up stories about it, and I'm like, it just doesn't even help to know. It just
Hmm.
doesn't even help, you know.
No, it would be
I
counterproductive because I mean that could be crippling to you as an
Oh, I mean,
artist.
yeah, I'm already crippled, as an artist with just the stories I've written in my head. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So if
Yeah.
I actually knew that people were saying negative stuff about my
Mm-mm.
work, I can't even imagine what would happen. So don't say anything.
No, and I will tell you that those trees will never get old. And I cannot even just after years and visiting for years, I drive by those trees and I will
Yeah.
stop. And I can't tell you how many photographs I have on my phone of those
Oh yeah, me
darn
too. I
trees.
love it.
It just doesn't. And that's why they're so special, because they stand out. And
Mm-hmm.
like you talked about the light, it doesn't, like different times of day, the light is different.
Mm-hmm.
And, but the trees, you always know exactly which trees.
Yeah.
Everyone knows
Yeah.
what trees we're talking about. If
Oh
not,
yeah.
then you go to Allison's Instagram and you will see the trees, and
That's
they're
me.
beautiful.
Yep.
So going back to when you came here, so you came here about 10 years ago, you said?
13.
Oh, 13 years ago. And you
Mm-hmm.
said exactly. So when did you move here?
February
So
1st.
it was February 1st. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's crazy. And your birthday's coming up too. So this is like a big
Mm-hmm.
celebration week for you.
Yeah. That's good.
Wow. So 13 years ago, you moved here, and your sister was the only person that you knew also, right? Just roughly.
And we had met some friends when we had visited before, and just kind
Okay.
of met them, and they, became our closest allies once we moved here. But my sister's only here part-time, so I mean, she was only here on the weekends. So we ended up moving to the neighborhood that her second home is in, and it just was great to be able to be so close, because I had never lived close to her since she was 18. She's 6 years older than me, so it had been a long time since we had been able to actually spend time together. And so we've got to raise our kids together. And then my mom and stepdad moved down shortly after that, and so we're all kind of central here. And then my dad and stepmom live in Bradenton, so we're pretty
Okay.
close.
Yeah. So you're sharing that coastal life.
Mm-hmm.
And, but can I tell you something really weird? My
Yeah.
sister is 6 years younger than me.
Yeah. Oh, so you're the big
I'm the
sissy.
big sissy, and she was the one that came to visit me 10,
Uh-huh.
11, 12. What year was it? 2008,
Mm-hmm.
2009. She came to visit me. She stayed here.
Oh yeah.
I left and came back, but
Mm-hmm.
it was just really, it's interesting
Yeah, that's
the
funny.
common thread there. But yeah, we weren't close. We were, we didn't see each other, but maybe once or twice a year for all that time. And then coming back and being able to be here now with her kids,
Yeah.
but just being around that and
Yeah.
having a family. And I loved having them here. And I knew a couple of people too, but how hard was it for you? You moved here, you had a couple people, you were just starting your business and your gallery and all that at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I probably didn't work for about 6 months, because when we moved here, I was about 6 months pregnant.
mhm.
So I just kind of worked on our house, and, got my son integrated into his schooling, and just kind of actually was kind of like a housewife for a few
Yeah.
months.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I had my daughter in May, and I remember, I'm from the Midwest. The South is a very different animal than anywhere I've ever been
True
or
story.
visited. It's very different. So I would talk to people maybe at the doctor's office or something, and then I'd come home and be like, what is happening? Like, they just said the weirdest thing to me, and everyone kept asking us first thing, what church do you guys go to?
Right.
We were just like, no, like, that's not a question that anyone would have asked us,
Right.
since forever. So, and then through some like mom groups, I take my son somewhere, and I remember meeting someone and coming home and be like, I met a normal person today, like
This is
an
so great.
actual person, that
Yes.
was acting like a normal woman in, what
In
I'm
what you
used
knew.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I still know her and I'm friends with her. And then I met a couple other moms, and, it's just like, all right, I can do this. And
That's great.
yeah. And then, it's still, it's just like such an interesting social experiment from, being here 13 years, and I'm still just like, this is crazy. And I've always said, everyone has their thing that makes them feel
Mhm.
good. A lot of people go to church. That's the thing that makes them feel good.
Yeah.
That's not what makes me feel good, and that's great.
Yes.
Go do, but don't try and make me feel bad for not doing what you do that makes you feel good, because that just doesn't work for me. My church is being outside in nature, walking in the
Yeah.
trees, swimming in the water, traveling, and that's what
Mhm.
really renews my faith in life, and keeps me going. A good walk in the woods is what, that's my church.
If you if be if painting coastal things was not your bread and butter and you could paint whatever you wanted, what do you think that would be?
Portraits. I
Portraits?
would
Wow.
love to paint huge, huge portraits of people in an impressionistic and expressionistic style. And I love to do abstract pieces. Abstracts for me are my soul dumps. You know what I mean? Like that's
You just put it
where,
all out there.
yeah. So an abstract painting for me starts way before I ever even get the paint out. I'll start seeing a color and feeling it. I can feel it in my chest. I'm doing that thing right now. I'm like
Right.
feeling it. So I
Yeah.
can feel it and I'm like, oh, that color blue. And then I just keep seeing it. And then other colors will kind of join in with it. And then, I can't wait to get to work and just put it out there. And when it's out there, I can literally feel that it's left my body. And I'm just like,
Wow.
oh, okay, I needed to do that. And that
Cathartic.
yeah, that's the way I learned to emote. I understood that we didn't grow up talking about emotions. It wasn't something that we just didn't do that. But I started seeing my painting, my abstract pieces, and afterwards I would look at them and be like, oh my God, like I can see exactly what was going on during that time and interpret it and think about it. And it's great to be able to tell clients
Yeah.
afterwards and be like, well, this is what was going on. I was walking through this. And I just did my latest abstract piece is a huge triptych, and it was inspired by an article I saw in National Geographic, and it was an old map, kind of watercolor painting of, I believe it was the Mississippi River, and it showed all the different ways that the Mississippi had wound and found its way to its final destination, but it had to just like whip and bend and do
Mhm.
all this crazy stuff. And it, showed all the different passages it had taken. And I was like, that just spoke to me. And I ended up painting a version of that. And I was like, wow, that's exactly what I'm going through. Like I'm having to dip and bend in ways I just didn't know I could
Mhm.
to get to my final destination.
Wow, that is really beautiful, and I think I did you post this just recently?
Hmm.
Yeah, I did see it,
Hmm.
okay. Wow, now I'm gonna go back and look at it and think about the story too.
Yeah.
Um, you had mentioned in this video that I saw on your website that you have felt misunderstood that your whole
Hmm.
life, and that art
Yes.
has been kind of the language that you've been able to speak to help become understood and feel understood.
Yeah. And when I talk about how my kids are, a little bit more mature, I kind of was operating at probably a little bit different level too. And I just thought of things differently. It just was never fit in with, let's say like the most popular kids. Like I probably should have hung out with more of like the goth smarty pants kids in high school.
Yeah,
But I came from a grade school of, a lot of the popular kids were
right.
there and I was friends with them and I just kind of went along with it. And
Yeah, you were
had
pushed into your box already, so you stayed there.
Yeah, and I had a great time with them, and they were fun and funny, and we laughed.
Yeah.
Um, but I probably could have, and I would not take that experience back for anything. Like that's just so fun. But I should have been pushing myself a little bit more. With my art and just with thinking. Like high school for me was just one giant doodle on my notebook.
Yeah.
Didn't
It kind
I
of
just
makes you
didn't.
realize how insignificant it all is, in the end,
Yeah,
whether you're hanging out with the popular kids or the goth kids in 20 years, none of that really
yeah,
matters, right? Because you're gonna be
yeah.
who you're gonna be.
Yeah, and I still don't feel, like I just don't it never you know, growing up and getting married was never drilled into my head. Raising me to be a wife was never something that happened. I've always been like, well, and my mom used to say that I just wouldn't do what she told me to do. I wouldn't listen. And I want to ask why you're telling me to do something. And I'm not trying to be a rebel, like be like, I'm going to make her mad. It was more like, but explain to me why I'm supposed to do it that way because I might have a better way to do
Yeah.
it that works for me. And so that's what I've always done. And that's why I have to work for myself because, I've had awesome bosses, corporate bosses before, and then I've had horrible ones that I didn't feel like were as intelligent as I was. And I was like, this is not going to work. I can't
Yeah.
work for someone that's just not I just can't do it. So I still don't feel like I fit in, but that's okay. That's my journey.
Yeah, that is, and it's cool that you can embrace that as part of your journey. And you had mentioned in your survey that one of the things that you think holds you back is fear, which I think is interesting to hear you or see you put, because you seem like so courageous. You seem so
Hmm.
brave in all of these things that you have done from child, from being, it takes bravery for a child to question their parents, or to maybe not, necessarily always think and do things the way, people say they should be done. And then as a mom, and then moving, and then doing this art thing, and like figuring out how to do murals and faux finishes when you didn't know that, that's a lot of bravery. So I'm curious, first of all, what are you afraid of?
Well, when you asked that question, my first thing was, I have no fears. Like, anything that comes up, I know I can do it. I just know I can do it. So I had to think about that question the most, and I was like, really, my fear is that I'm not going to be able to. What I really think is that from being fearless for so long, it's actually starting to catch up with me, and I'm starting to be like, just kind of tired of always having to pioneer the way, of being the person that goes and does it. I just want to just not have to always be fearless all the time. Like,
Yeah.
I just want to just relax.
You want to kind of like
Just
coast for a minute
yeah.
and chill. And
Yeah, I've always been like, open a gallery, sure. I have no idea how to run a business or run a store or like talk to client, nothing. I was like, but I'm gonna do it. Have a baby with someone I met 2 months ago. Let's do it. Like, let's just figure it out. Move somewhere where I don't know anybody. Absolutely. Like, let's go. I've always been like that. But
yeah,
my biggest fear is, and it always has been since I was a little kid, is security. I want to make sure that I don't have to worry about basic things like paying for the house, and
right.
um I just want those basic necessities to be covered. And that's never come up. I've had such a great career, but it's coming up now because it's changed. The art situation has changed here a little bit. So we went from just blasting out original pieces all the
Yeah.
time, all of us, to it just kind of came to a screeching halt. And I don't know if it's because there are so many artists, or if there's just like a political insecurity or what's going on, but it is just come to a point where it's like, oh my God, like, I never thought that would end. And um
Interesting.
and so, I'm still selling work, and I still have people that, love my work, and I'm not worried
Mhm.
about that. It's just, and I know it's all happening for a reason, but it
Yeah.
does come up, and it's just like, ooh, that's
Right.
a little bit
Which says a
scary.
lot, considering that when you moved here, it was a time where the economy was really crap. I
Yeah.
mean, so you
Yeah.
started at kind of like a really low point in the economy, and then you've
Hmm.
kind of seen it, and now it's kind of plateauing
Yeah.
a little bit. And
Right.
also, I wonder, like, how many more houses can we fit south of 98? Right? Like
No,
the
like
development.
12,
Yeah.
12 more.
Right. That's
Um,
it, basically.
yeah. But yeah, so I came in totally fearless, no idea what was going on. I'm not, a politics person, so I had no idea what was going on. But I think the reason I hit with my work when I did is because no one else was doing what I was doing, so it was really different than anything else. So I just got lucky and just got picked up by some great designers really early, and just got lucky.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. And your fearlessness is definitely noted. And I can imagine that it can be a little exhausting. Like, even when you're fearless, like sometimes you just want to take a deep breath
Hmm.
and like chill for a minute, but it can be kind of scary to do that when you're supporting your family, right? Like, you can't really
Yeah.
coast.
Hmm. Yeah. So I still want to be fearless, but that's kind of, on hold, because I have to be a little bit more careful now. And what recharges me, my soul, is, like I said, being outside and travel. Like, even if I go to Mobile for the weekend, that does things to parts of my brain that I can feel. Like, I took my kids to Europe for a month,
Wow.
2 years in a row, and I could feel like parts of my brain like actually firing that
Yeah.
hadn't fired before, and I'm like, this is
Right.
why I have to leave. I have to see different things. I have to see the different light sources, the way the light hits different things. And that's kind of scary. It's like, ooh, I can't do that as much anymore. Like, my travel is halted a little bit, and I'm like, all right, we're going to get that back for priorities first. Like, we have to
Yeah.
start traveling more. I have to be recharged.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you recharge your batteries, then who knows what happens, right? Because then
Oh yeah. I
start
mean, it just
creating different
starts
things.
flowing. Yeah.
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 Wow. That's really so when you work really hard, obviously, and I think that it would be, I think it's different. Okay. So I have a corporate job also, right? I work for a hotel company and I have a job function. It's a corporate job function. It's very black and white. I know what I need to do to get done, to check the box for the day. Can be physically exhausting, like if I travel or something, but
Hmm.
when I'm writing something or creating something, that is emotionally exhausting.
Hmm.
So I can only imagine what I'm hearing, and I feel this raw emotion from you, like when you feel the color and you create the thing and you dump it and you look at it and you're really proud of it. That's got to be exhausting.
It is. And I've actually, time passes really quickly when you're painting too, but I've actually like bent over in pain after painting something before. And I think that I don't breathe right when I'm painting too. So
Kind of like,
it just dumps everything out. And then if I do have to go to a social function or anything like that afterwards, I'm just like, I can't, sometimes I literally don't have anything to say to anybody. So those, I try and keep my functions like that to a minimum so that when I do go out, because I do have to speak now that I'm, on the board of the
mm,
CAA, I have to be present. I have to be able to answer questions and like be a normal person.
right.
This exact thing is why I separated my gallery from my studio, because I would be painting all day in there. That's where I painted, but people come in and they want to talk to you. It's very flattering.
Yeah.
But they also want a part of you, and they
Right.
want to suck out whatever you have. So not only am I, putting everything out on the canvas that day, but I'm also taking anything I have and giving it to these people that want what I have.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's even in minor conversations. It's great. I love talking to people, but it all often turned into this feeling of a monkey in a cage. I
Oh,
felt like I
wow.
was just like a gorilla standing behind the glass, and everyone was talking to me like I wasn't a normal person. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I had great, and that unfortunately, that's people want to see you and they want to talk to you, and they'll buy a painting right out of your hands when you're standing there. So it did kind of dampen sales a little bit, but and I'm trying to figure out how to get back in the public eye without while also still being able to produce
Mhm.
art and not being interrupted in that way.
Right. Right. I know that's got to be interesting, especially as a creator. Like you're right. People are in awe of that. And I think that they want some of your magic, right? Like they want
Hmm.
a piece of your magic and they're just so amazed. They're coming to you because they can't create this stuff themselves. Who
Yeah.
can't, nobody can create what you uniquely can create. But I can imagine that's got to be really, really tough. Do you ever, say like, okay, I'm just going to go to the gallery this day, and you tell people, okay, come suck my energy out on Wednesday, the third Wednesday of every month or
That's
something?
that's what I want to do. So in September, I was I've represented up to 30 artists at one time and kind of pared it down to about 6 or 7. And then September, I kind of handed my space over to one of my artists, and she's a clothing designer, and I still show my work there. And she kept a lot of the people that I showed. And so she's really young, and she already is going through what I was going through. You know what I mean? Like she wants to work. People come in, they're like, where is she? Like if
Yeah.
she's not
Yeah.
there, and I'll go in and work a couple shifts for her. And I got this feeling in my body because people were coming in. They're like, "Where's Mary Ellen? Like, where is she?"
Oh,
Because I brought my friend in, and I wanted to show my friend that I'm friends with this. And I was feeling it, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is the feeling that I had 10 years ago." It kind of sucks because it's so flattering. You know what I mean? Like you want to be there, but at the same time, so what I recommended to her too, I was like, dude, work from home, but
mm,
have Tuesdays and Thursdays. Mary Ellen's in the house. People can come and you be prepared on those days from 12 to 5 or whatever. to talk and give the people what they want. But if
Mhm.
you're going to sustain this, you're young, you have a long career ahead of you. You've got to have your alone time,
Mm.
because they want your time. They want to kind of, you know, own you, bring their friends in, all that kind of stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
they're the people that give us money, but you know, we
But
also
you're
just have to
still a
manage it.
human being, and I think it's important to remember that. But I feel like it's so important for people to remember, no matter how impressed you are with a person, no matter how much you want to associate yourself with them or, steal their magic, like you're a human being that creates beautiful things. The people that are in awe probably have their own special thing that they can do. Maybe they haven't realized it yet,
Always.
you know? But
That's what I always say to people. I'm like, I'm sure you're wonderful at something that
yeah,
I'm horrible at, and
right.
I want to nurture that. The fact that people want to see it keeps me going. It's up to us as the artists to not feel beholden to these people.
Yeah.
We have to manage ourselves. So that was my fault for putting myself out there in that way and giving so much of myself. I should have managed that a little bit better, and I'm doing that now.
Yeah. No, that's great. So when you have a day off and you're not traveling, you're just in the area, what do you like to do? Like, well, how do you kind of recharge your batteries when you're at home? What's a perfect day for you when you're not working?
Perfect day would be coffee out on the porch, on the balcony, and just kind of hanging out with the kids and the cat, and going for a really long walk in the woods, or if it's warm enough, a swim in the Gulf.
Mm.
Um, Having avocado toast at Black Bear for lunch is so good. Um, and just kind of, catching up on reading something and just hanging out and relaxing. And I spend a lot of time alone. So that's kind of where I'm comfortable, either alone or with a good friend that doesn't require a lot of, attention. So,
It's nice to have people that you can just be with, and
yeah.
the presence is enough, and you can be doing your own thing. You can just be in each other's presence and really feed off of each
Yeah.
other's energy that way. That's nice.
hmm
Do you have any like things that you've read recently that you really love, or things that you go back to that you really enjoy, authors, anything like that that you can share?
I listen to audiobooks a ton, and the one I probably listen to the most is The Surrender Experiment by Mickey Singer. Excuse me. I love stories, and he wrote a book called The Untethered Soul, which is kind of a concept of how he believes the universe works. But The Surrender Experiment talks about how the story on how he came to believe that. It is so good and
Really?
just inspiring. And when I need to regain my faith in this bizarre process, I go back and listen to that book a lot. And I love anything by David Sedaris, and I'm a huge podcast listener too, so I love to listen to Risk and The Moth and Modern Love.
I love modern love.
There's just a bunch of them. I just love true stories. I only read nonfiction
Okay,
and
interesting.
memoirs.
Yeah.
I'm like, real life is more bizarre than, why would I read something that people are making up when I can read something that actually happened?
And I think that is so good for humanity too, to be able to read and hear things that are really happening
hmm
and, give us a whole different appreciation for people, for actual
Yeah.
like real people, not characters
hmm
or digital people or whatever. So I love that. Thank you for sharing those.
Yes.
Um, how important to you is image management? And when I say that, I mean your personal image, because I know that there's like a huge emphasis on people, especially women, how we look and how we think we should look for other people. And you kind of touched on this a little bit when you talked about your daughter at her young age,
hmm
having to be kind of, on the ball with all this stuff all the time because of social media. So how do you feel about that personally?
It never occurred to me until like the past few years. So when I became board president of the CAA, I was like, oh, I have to talk to people. Like, I have to look good. I have to look like the position that I have. So I started really, first I started watching makeup tutorials just to like make fun. I couldn't believe people were doing it.
All
And
the
then I ended up
contouring and
learning, yeah, I ended up learning so much. So I really started like taking care of, making sure I had on makeup. And as you age a little bit, you just have to, I feel like I just needed to do that a little bit. And then I started really paying attention to my, what I was wearing out. And I saw the shift. There was like a power shift. All of a sudden, people were paying, I was getting more respect in different circles than I had before, because I run around covered in paint all day. I go to the store like that. I go to my kids' school functions like that. You know what I mean? Like,
It's
that's
totally
just who
different.
I can, I'm an artist. That's what I do. I go to
Mhm.
restaurants like that. And then I started just trying to clean it up a little bit more and be more professional. And when I saw the power that looking good, like looking your best, and I started watching women in town that are just always like put together, and it's a lot of work. Like, if I have a week where I have meetings 4 times a week, my entire room is destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
The 10 feet outside of my room is destroyed.
The
Like,
countertops, forget the bathroom counter, right?
everywhere. There's like makeup in 40 different places.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do people get ready for work every day? This is exhausting. And the hair, and all of it. So it is a full-time job, but it really pays off. So I've utilized that more, because like, when you're young and your butt looks good all the time,
All the
and you're
time, no matter what you're wearing.
yeah, and when you're just cute in a potato sack, you can get away with doing anything. But when you get older, you've got to start managing it a little bit more. So I do recommend looking as good as you can in a comfortable, routine as much as possible, if you're trying to gain any respect, or, dress for what you want to be. I would love to be a TED Talk person, or running an art center, or consulting for all these things of this knowledge I've gained over the last 20 years. And I'm like, people aren't going to hire the girl that's standing around in, paint splattered shoes, and whose hair is in a giant rat's nest, so
Yeah.
pull it together.
That's an interesting perspective, because I wonder sometimes, if it weren't for the other people that are walking around put together,
Mm-hmm.
would we feel that way if everyone was
No.
getting the respect with the paint on them, which they're no different, right? Like, you're no different with paint all over you than you are with lipstick on.
No.
You're the same
That's just
person.
yeah. That's just playing the game.
It's playing the game. So
I'm
it's a
playing the game.
game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes, in order to get where you want to be, you play the
Mm-hmm.
game. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
you have to, right? To get in front of
Fake
the
it till you
people.
make it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do what
And
you got to
yeah.
do.
And so it is, like I said before, it's such a powerful tool.
Yeah.
Use it. You have it. You can go to the Goodwill and find awesome clothes. You can, just tuck it in, brush it out, put it on. That's the game we have to play right now. We have to look good.
I like that. Tuck it in, brush it out, put it on. Put
You
that on
can
your
do
t-shirt.
anything for 2 hours.
It's so true. It really is so true. And
Yeah.
sometimes, I like that we are performing, but it depends
Mm-hmm.
on, like, why are you doing it, right? What's your why? You have a strong why because you love art and you want the art community to be strong and you want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that more if people are listening to you, and people will
Oh
listen
yeah.
more, especially the influential people will listen to you more if you are playing that part. So I can understand that. You mentioned that one of your pet peeves was manipulative people. And that's
Yeah.
hard, because it feels terrible to be manipulated. Was there a time, can you tell us about a time where you felt manipulated, and how did you get out of it? And, what did you do to get through it?
I believe that I am a little bit naive when it comes to that. And, and that goes back to, childhood and the mean girl stuff. And I never knew I was being manipulated. I've never known I was being manipulated in friendships and romantic relationships. I always just thought, oh, you're mean to me, so that must be my problem.
Mm.
And then I'm going to fix it, not knowing that I was just a pawn in somebody's life, So, and that makes me a magnet for manipulative people. And I'm trying to be really careful about that now. But I would say professionally, a big manipulation happened when I was teaching a private lesson to someone who, looking back on it, I did have a weird feeling when it was happening. I should have known, even though the person said, oh, I would never, try and sell anything. I would never. I
Oh,
taught her everything that I knew, and she bought some of my pieces, and then a few months later took copied one of my pieces exactly. I have a few kind of signature things that I have, and she tried to sell it like 10 feet from where I was selling, my very first place I ever found to sell it. And I had to really back down and not go like total, you know.
yeah. How did you handle it?
So I wrote her an email and just said, I'm so happy that you're able to have art as your, trying to have it as a profession. That's great, because I try to teach creativity as a wellness,
Mm-hmm.
you know, tool. So I was like, that's great. You're able to emote and do all this, but I would, rather that you didn't do it in the same store that I'm at. And I was totally diplomatic and surprised myself about it.
That's good.
And she called me. Well, she emailed me a couple times and acted like she had no idea. She was very flattered that I thought her work even looked like mine. And then she, I think, called me crying. And I said, it's so obvious what you're doing. And so I've had about 3 women just copy me to a T, and 1 guy, but it's mostly women. And they just, I don't know, it's always women of the same means, of the same age, trying to steal
Wow.
you know what I mean? So that is, and one of them was another manipulation too, where it was get close,
Yeah.
take it, and go and get it what you want. And for me, it's just like, I'm a single mom.
Right.
Y'all like have money. You don't need to do this. Like, I need to do this for my living.
Yeah.
And for you to
It's
come
so
in,
powerful.
copy exactly what I do and price it for half as much. And I always have faith in the universe and karma to take care of situations like that. And it's so, it comes up. We were talking about it yesterday. I'm like, there's just nothing I can do except for let karma take care of that. Like, I don't know why it's happening. And I have a lot of great clients that'll come and say, someone's copying you, but your work is better, but someone's copying you. And I'm just like,
So what
2 of
is
these
the
people
law
that are,
on that? There's no law against that?
I don't know. Another artist in town is having a big, kind of an issue with that. And someone's just blatantly copying his work,
Wow.
buying his pieces and blatantly copying it and selling it. And it's so obvious and it's just almost laughable, and they're just like, we don't know what to do either. And I'm like,
Yeah. It's like
there's not.
counterfeiting. I mean, it's
Oh, absolutely. And what is so alarming is that, 10 years ago when we were here, it was such a family.
mhm,
We were all like one big family, and we all had downtime,
mhm,
December, January, February. It was like a ghost town here. We all helped each other. We traded for things and we supported each other.
mm.
And there's a new breed of people moving here that are coming here not because they want to live in this beautiful, magical place, but because they want to make money
It's like
from the.
predators.
Yeah. So it's very predatory, and it hurts my soul.
Yeah. I'm sorry that that's happening, and that's really sad, and I wish that I were an attorney and I would do
I mean,
something
and that it wasn't even, there'll be another person,
Yeah.
it's just, it's for me, it's an interesting psychological thing. Why is it always women of the same age?
Yeah.
What are they trying to steal from me? I'm not, I'm just trying to make a living. Like,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah, and that is really sad, and I would definitely say, you know, to any woman, if you have something that you admire about another woman, that's great. You tell them that you love it. Be inspired by that woman. Take the idea and come up with your own ideas, right? Like
Yeah.
don't be predatory. Don't be a vampire. Don't steal that person's magic and try to say it's your own magic. That's just
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
inauthentic and so dirty. It's
And
so dirty.
embarrassing for them. I mean, I
Yeah.
addressed it once for someone who was copying a friend of mine, and I just said, everybody knows you're copying. There's
Right.
room for all of us. If
Yeah.
you're going to copy, take it to another town or come up with your own thing like we did,
Right.
like both, that was our thing. Like, that's
Yeah.
our signature thing, and people just do it. But, it's flattering at the same time. And I don't like to feel angry or anxious or
That's
anything
hard
like that.
though.
So it makes me really uncomfortable.
Yeah, now I can understand that. Well, kudos to you for handling it so maturely, and what a great example you set for your daughter, because, and your son also, like, I mean,
Mhm.
just it's something that can happen to all of us. I mean, people,
Mhm.
whether you're a musician or you're a writer or you're a fashion designer or an artist or a landscape architect or
Yeah.
whatever you are, if you're creating something and it's good, people are going to want to do the same, especially they see it's successful, it's working.
Oh, yeah.
Have this beautiful, I'm going to say that you have this beautiful image of what your life is like. Who wouldn't want that life where they show up every day and they put their feelings onto a canvas and they create
Mhm.
beautiful things and everyone wants a piece of them? And so that, it's coveted, right?
Yeah.
So, um, but you've been around doing it for a while, and
Yeah. Couldn't ask for a better job. I mean,
yeah,
it's just so rewarding in ways that I never thought a job could be, and I love it.
wow. I really appreciate just knowing how you handle things, and your just level of the insightfulness and the depth of your thinking is, you know, obviously your art is really cool and impressive, but you as a person, you're so open and you're so kind and just so kind-hearted. And um, I wonder if if there was a time that you felt like you wished another woman would have been to you what you are willing to be to other women.
Um, I've never really gone, that's a great question, but it's just not, it doesn't seem like I've ever really gone to other women a lot for support. I'm kind of a one person show.
Yeah.
So, I do see that people have opportunities to be like that. And really, I surround myself with women like that.
Yeah.
Almost all of my friends are creatives, and they're selfless, helping other people, just huge hearted people. So I'm surrounded by a great group of women that are like that, and
That's
we're all managing that constantly of, I have this thing and but I'm going to help people with it. So it's,
great.
I don't surround myself with people that aren't like that. Everyone's giving.
That really echoes that what you said earlier about don't take advice from somebody, or, don't take an
Hmm.
insult from somebody. And so, I've heard this a lot recently. You are a combination of the 5 people that you spend your time with. Um, and this is proof in it, right? If you are spending your time with people who are supportive and have a similar mindset and uplift you and you uplift them, then you don't really have to feel like you're being slighted or not supported. Would you agree with that?
Right. Oh yeah, totally. And I have to watch that because, I've had to weed out some of that situation because once you really get tuned in to your body and how you feel, you can immediately notice when someone's in your life that's just something's a little bit off. And sometimes it's not obvious, but you have to make that change, and
Yeah.
it's hard.
Yeah, and it sounds like you are really in touch with, the physical manifestations of your feelings. And I wonder, have you always known that you've got a gut? Like, have you for a long time, did you deny your gut feelings and then suddenly you realize that you should have listened? And how did that transition take place?
Yeah, it's just not anything that you're taught, but here it's a way of life. Like everyone knows, like, what juice did you have today? Or
Yeah.
like, did you get Reiki this week? So
Yeah.
it's just like a normal conversation. It's a way of life here. And so one thing will say over and over, people are like data people, or, well, studies show, and I'll say, humans, we have one tool that we're born with that we've had for, millions of years, and that is our intuition. Always go with your intuition. Sit down, think about something. If it makes your gut feel weird, or you get around somebody and you feel that spidey senses of something's off, always go back to that. You can go to school, you can do all the things, but everything you need is within you to judge every situation in your life. And it just came up, and I laugh about it because I had an opportunity to open a gallery in an area that I've always wanted to have a gallery. Just recently, it was the perfect spot, just beautiful. And I knew in my body that it was not the right time. And I'm like, this is so, I can't tell anybody that I'm not doing this because my body is telling me not to
Right.
do it. But I just know. And so I'm still kind of interested to see how that turns out.
Hmm.
I said no and I'm not doing it, but I'm interested to see how successful that that little feeling was and why it happened. So,
That's what I'm wondering,
know
is
your
like, I
body.
feel like we're not always lucky enough to know, like if we trust the gut and then we don't see the outcome the way we think
Right away too.
yeah, then you question yourself, right? Was my gut wrong? Did I make the wrong decision?
You just have to be patient. We're in a time of instant gratification. So, I made that decision 3 months ago, and I'm still like, I'm not obsessing over it, but every once in a while it comes up, and it's like, wow, I did really turn down this opportunity that I've wanted for years, and
Yeah.
just because my gut said not to do it.
Yeah.
So,
But you got good
you know,
guts, obviously.
we'll see. But it is so important. And when it comes down to it, like I said, everything you have is right within you, and you just have to be quiet and listen. And sometimes that's not an easy decision. If you're in
Yeah.
a marriage and you're just like,
Right.
something's wrong, or in your relationship with a friend, or if you're out and someone's hitting on you and you're like, something's wrong, it'd be more fun, to hang out and get free drinks from this person, but you should probably just go if your body's telling you to go. And I've
That's
taught that to my kids. I'm like, if you're walking down the street and someone you just feel it and you have no reason, get away from them, learn to understand your body because it's
very
telling you.
nice. Yeah, no, that's priceless advice, honestly, because I think sometimes, especially as little girls and as young women, we are kind of taught to like be quiet and just be
Hmm.
polite and just, it doesn't matter if they make you feel icky, then just sit there and then you just move on. You never have to see them again. But yeah, trusting your gut, you can keep yourself
Yeah.
out of a lot of sticky situations, even if it's just keep yourself from being disrespected, keep yourself from being
Hmm.
manipulated, it doesn't have to be something extreme. Um,
Yeah, it's our job to keep ourselves from being manipulated. You can't be like, he manipulated me for years, or she did this, and it's like, no, you chose to stay there. So you
100%.
have
And
to
it's
do the
hard.
work.
You
Yeah.
have to do the work and it's hard. It takes a lot. And again, from personal experience, it takes a lot to be able to look at something that you have been
Hmm.
through and realize you were the one going through it. You weren't, in some cases, yes, it's extreme. People are under duress, but not in all cases. And you have to at least look back and say, okay, this is what I could have done differently, or at least
Hmm.
this is what I'm going to do differently moving forward based on what I learned from that
Yeah.
situation. So
Yeah.
for sure, for sure. So can you just tell me, I know we've been talking for a while. I know this happens. I'm sorry, but is there is there a way that you want to be perceived? If people could look inside your soul and know everything that you want them to know about you, what would that be?
I'm super curious, and I ask questions because I want to know answers. I always just felt like I was a person of the universe. I'm not someone from Illinois, I'm not someone from Florida. I always feel like I'm up in space looking down at everything. And I'm like, oh, that's why that happens. And that's why that happens. So, and I really feel like I'm kind of a facilitator. Like I take in a lot of information and then I spill it out to the right people, what I hope are the right people. But I just feel like that's my place here. Is there somehow I'm able to talk to people, all different kinds of people, in a way that makes them understand. So I love just kind of being a beacon of a lot of information and being super open without an agenda. I really just want to help people understand art and use creativity, like I said, as a way of wellness every day. Like you take your vitamins and then you also sketch, or you go and work in the yard, or you make sand art, or you do anything. Your art is the language of the soul, and your soul needs to speak. You have to get it out. I don't know how people have 9 to 5 jobs and then come home and do nothing. They don't run, they don't do anything like that. Pent up energy, like you can't move forward. It's like a blockage. You have to get it all out. So that's what I just want people to know, that I'm kind of like a thing that information comes through, a vessel that information
That's
comes through, and
cool.
then I spill it back out.
Yeah, you're just gifting it. You're just gifting it back out to everyone, and after it's been processed and made beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, that's really awesome. That's kind of the end of my more in-depth questions. I have some fun kind of either or questions for you, just to kind of lighten it up a little bit. But before I do that, is there anything else that you want to add to our conversation?
I would like to say a little bit about the Cultural Arts Alliance of Walton
Yeah.
County. So, we're the start and stop of all the art here, and we've been kind of a silent agency, but what we do is everything from provide the art events in town, to give, award grants to teachers all over the county so that they can create more artists and teach kids how important art is. So you can become a member of the Cultural Arts Alliance by going to culturalartsalliance.org. And, by doing that, we're able to give more grants to teachers, more scholarships to college students, and provide more programming and workshops. And, it is just such an important part of our area. And we just, would love your help and love you to get involved and volunteer. And it's a great alliance. Just get involved. Art matters.
That is incredible. Hashtag art matters.
Yeah.
I love it. I will be using it. I love looking at beautiful things, and I love the Cultural Arts Alliance and everything they've done. So you're creating these kinds of things that our county didn't have before, bringing awareness and creating kind of an interest in these young kids in art that might not have really thought about it before. I mean, imagine if you were in high school, like before you went away, imagine if you had a teacher kind of like fostering that in you, what a difference that could have possibly even made.
I mean, this place is on the map because it's beautiful, because of art, because of the way the water looks, because the way the white sand looks against it. It became popular because of how beautiful it is, not because, there's a Dollar General and a Hardee's up on 98. It's because there's an appreciation of art and aesthetics. So we have to remember that and stop thinking of it as a place to make money, and remember it as a place with soul and art.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's a great message. So now I'm just going to move into a couple of silly questions, and you just kind of answer with your gut.
Expert at silly.
Perfect. Okay, so do you prefer the book version or the movie version?
Book.
Nice. Meat or cheese?
Cheese.
I could live on cheese.
Cheese.
Hot coffee or iced coffee?
Ooh, depends on the day, but I really find iced coffee to be super refreshing. It's hot here all the time. It's just like my favorite little piece of gold to have a giant iced coffee.
Yum. Where do you like to go?
If I'm really, I go to Amavita mostly, probably, and Black Bear a little. And then if I'm feeling extra lazy, I'll go to the drive-thru at Starbucks.
Yeah. Sounds good. We're in a good spot. We have so many great little spaces to go and have a good cup of coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Do you prefer spring or fall?
Fall.
Are you a saver or a spender?
Spender.
What's your indulgence when you're spending?
Travel.
That's a good one, because that's not a thing. That's a lifestyle experience.
Oh, yeah.
Bath or shower?
Shower.
Cocktails or wine?
I do love a beautiful cocktail.
What's your favorite cocktail, like your go-to?
I don't even, my go-to is vodka and soda, a little bit of cranberry.
It's a good one.
Just because the little bit of cranberry makes it pretty,
So a little pink in there.
There's a drink called the Hemingway at the Pearl Bar, up in Rosemary Beach that I love because it's so beautiful. So it's all about aesthetics for me.
Nice. That makes sense. Do you like big parties or small gatherings?
Small gatherings.
I probably could have guessed that after our conversation.
I mean, really neither, but
right. Right. If I have
gatherings.
To pick one.
Yeah.
Do you prefer neutral tones or bold colors?
Neutral.
Thin or thick crust pizza?
Oh God, both. But I mean, I'm,
You're from Illinois. Does that influence this at all?
Oh my God. Yeah. Giordano's thick crust pizza.
Yeah.
I mean, if it didn't matter what it did to your body, I would go for a thick crust every time.
Right. Love that bread. Dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Probably milk.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise, I'm rarely up for, but I seem to enjoy it more. It's more of a special, quiet, sacred time.
It smells so nice in the morning too. I feel like that everything is different that first, when the sun first comes out, and then it is in the evening. I mean, it always smells good at the beach, but
yeah.
Do you prefer a concert or a Broadway play?
Concert.
Facebook or Instagram?
Oh God. I just don't. I think Facebook. Well, Facebook, because it's more wholesome, that's where my family and friends are. Instagram is about the fake life, and I often feel icky when I'm looking at it. Like
Mhm.
I unliked 3/4 of everything I followed because I was like, this isn't. I actually feel dirty when I look at
Yeah, that sucks.
it.
But it makes sense because it's all about the visual, and sometimes the visual doesn't tell enough
Yeah.
of the story, right? But I'm with you. I wasn't on Facebook for the longest time, and my grandmother reached out to me and she said, I can see all my other grandchildren and great grandchildren on the Facebook, and you're not there. Then I realized that it was kind of better because you really can stay connected with people all over the place, and
Yeah. That's why I love it.
Yeah, they're different. Okay, would you rather have somebody else do all your dishes or all your laundry?
Oh my God, all of it.
Yeah.
But I guess laundry, because I can put the dishes in the dishwasher.
Nice.
If they can unload it for me,
Yeah,
that would be
unloading.
awesome.
That's the thing, right? It was when you're
I can load it.
Yeah, loading, it's great. Hitting the button, no problem.
Awesome feeling.
Okay, I just have 2 more. Cats or dogs?
Oh, both. I mean, our dog just died, and we're all in love with our cat right now. But
Yeah, he's getting all the love now, or she.
Yeah. So I'm, either one.
Either one. All animals.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. This is very, very deep. Ice cream or frozen yogurt?
Oh God, probably froyo. Just feel like I can eat more of it. I don't know.
Right? It's yogurt. It's good for you.
I love both. That's like my favorite food group is frozen.
But I also love that, like, you can go to all these froyo places now and build your own little sundae with all the stuff. And I don't know why they never had that for regular ice cream. Like, you could go to an ice cream place and get a sundae, but they never had these bars where you can just go and make your own crazy concoction that I know of.
So magical.
It is.
I love it.
Magical. This whole conversation for me has been very magical. I hope I have not sucked away any of your energy and your magic.
No,
I've really enjoyed it. That's awesome.
Thank you so much for thinking of me, and can't wait to hear it, and can't wait to listen to your other podcasts and see where else you go.
Thank you so much. It is my pleasure, and happy birthday, happy anniversary of moving to the area, and
we love
happy day. Thank you for listening to the MCOWO podcast. To learn more, follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Emerald Coast Women, and visit us on the web at mcowo.com. That's www.emcowo.com.